They served our country in Afghanistan, but there's something during that tour that they haven't shared publicly. What happened when an IED hit their convoy in the middle of the desert? An Aussie-made war hero saved their lives, and they're ready to tell her story.
IEDs were the #1 threat, followed by the shoot threat.
Seeing big flash of dust, dirt in front of us. The volume is something that's really hard to convey to people.
The smoke, the noise, the way that the vehicle had shifted from its original path, I personally felt that they were probably dead.
Afghanistan in 2012. Dry, hot and deep in enemy territory.
The terrain was just open, no trees anywhere near us, open desert, and a couple of creek lines where we were crossing, and that's where we ran into some trouble.
Now, more than a decade on, the soldiers reunited with each other and with the lady they say saved their lives. Is it emotional seeing it again in this state?
A little bit, yeah. It's hard to talk about, I suppose, because a lot of the time I avoided talking about it because it just sort of, as a crew, I sort of was a bit guilty for what happened.
A bushmaster, affectionately named Debbie, who will soon be put on show for the whole country to see.
So now it's bigger than us, and I think this is really important for the Australian public because they don't know a lot of the stuff we did over in Afghanistan, what we sustained or went through.
Mentoring Task Force 5 had been deployed in Afghanistan for just 3 weeks. Matthew Clark was behind Debbie's wheel.
My role was driver of the vehicle crew. We were heading from the Afghan National Army base that we were staying at back to base to do a bit of a resupply run.
It was just a 10-kilometre track. 3 bushmasters set out. Tough terrain, littered with potential improvised explosive devices hidden by the enemy, meant the route took hours. They got to base safely, but it was on the return trip, along the same path they'd travelled just 3 hours earlier, a bomb had been planted.
Seeing big flash of dust and dirt in front of us, and the volume is something that's really hard to convey to people. As infantry guys, we're used to working with loud explosives and firing rockets, that sort of stuff, but just the volume 10 times louder than that. Like, you describe it like a jet engine. Jet engine doesn't even come close to comparison of the sound.
Rowan Jameson was in the back.
And then all of a sudden we hit the IED and big noise, instant tinnitus, dust everywhere, disorientation, trying to figure out what's going on, popping smoke to indicate that we're not good, we need Casevac straight away.
Kurt Bebbington had been standing out the hatch.
First thing I did was look down, I saw Kurt Bebbington laying there, blood pouring out of him, and he was really lucky to not get boosted.
Debbie hit an IED right under the driver's wheel, sending the 225-kilo wheel flying 100 metres away.
My right foot was sort of shaking uncontrollably, and looked down at the left foot and it was quite obviously broken and snapped and on sideways.
Captain Adam Seary was in the bushmaster behind.
What was it like for you travelling behind and seeing the bushmaster in front of you hit an IED?
I still have a vivid memory of leaning forward in my seat maybe 2 or 3 seconds before they struck the device. But I think one of the most impressive things I've ever seen is once that red smoke was popped, which indicated that people in the vehicle were alive, that was empowering for the rest of the team.
More flares were quickly deployed, signalling for help. A spot was cleared of further threats for the Medivac chopper to land. Matthew stretchered out, while a dazed Kurt stumbled to the chopper.
How proud are you of how the team handled it this day?
It was flawless as far as I was concerned, and I'm fairly confident that both Kurt and Matt were on that aircraft in about sub 20 minutes.
Matthew broke 14 bones in both his feet and ankles. He needed 7 surgeries.
So Matt, these are some of the x-rays of your foot after the incident. There's a hell of a lot of metal in there, isn't there?
Yeah, well, when I got the x-ray done, the girl that was doing the x-ray, who does this for a living, said that she'd never seen that much metal in someone's foot before.
In the year after the incident, Debbie was donated to the Australian War Memorial, but few knew the story behind the damage. Rowan and Matt both saw pictures of Debbie online and contacted staff. From there, a plan was hatched to put Debbie on display and reunite the crew. It's been nearly a decade since they've all been together, but there's that unspoken bond over what they shared on the front line.
So I sort of carried that for a long time and didn't really talk about it too much. So in a way, like, it was hard to come down here, but good to see everyone.
I'd rather be us than the guys behind us, because if something happened to them, then we've got to live with it.
So Matt, this is the soon-to-be new Anzac Hall.
This is one of the, I would argue, one of the reasons for the development is to create the space to tell the story of Afghanistan.
Debbie will sit in the newly refurbished Anzac Hall at the War Memorial, part of a $550 million expansion to help tell more stories of our war heroes. War Memorial Director Matt Anderson.
To be able to build the space where we can tell the story of Afghanistan and of course Iraq and Syria and peacekeeping operations, it's terribly important.
21st century conflicts just as important as our first war heroes.
My first Anzac Day after coming back, I remember walking around with my suit and medals on, and a lady come up to me and said, "Oh, whose medals are you wearing?" Like thinking they're like my granddad's or something. I'm like, "No, these are my medals. Like I was in Afghanistan last year," and she was shocked.
It's terribly important to be able to honour our contemporary veterans in the same way and in the same place as we've honoured all of those who have gone before them.
No Australian life has ever been lost in a bushmaster, an Aussie-made icon which will forever be a part of our proud military history.
Yeah, it's great to be able to show my daughter, my wife, family, future generations of my family, because they'll be here forever.
The way they hold up to those sort of explosions, like it's without doubt that I owe my life to that vehicle.
Just remarkable. And you'll be able to see Debbie with the new display, expected to be open in early 2026.